2012 there, Jessica.
Absolutely, François.
Okay. Jessica Le Mazurier in the newsroom. Many thanks. With the French heading to the polls in just 13 weeks to pick a president, finally campaign fever is on. For that, we can thank the good folks at Standard & Poor's, who downgraded France's credit rating for the first time since 1975. So, the candidates are all off and running, all except for one, the incumbent. Now, it's true that this week we've seen Nicolas Sarkozy make speeches to French citizens abroad in Madrid, farmers in the southwest, business leaders in Lyon, but that's officially as president, making his traditional New Year's wishes. Officially, he's not yet a candidate. He's got some catching up to do, with some of the lowest numbers for a sitting president in France so late in the game. These are the latest polls we can show you were he to face off in the second round in early May against socialist François Hollande. So why is he in such a big hole? How is he going to play catch-up? And what is the recipe for a successful campaign in these times? Today in the France 24 debate, Sarkozy's strategy. With us, a man who knows a little bit about how to sell brands. A little bit later, we'll be asking for some tips from Frederick Winkler of the Paris office of ad agency J. Walter Thompson. And you also chair, what is it, the communications agencies grouping here in Paris. What's it called? AACC, okay. Also with us, Charles Ginovich, National Secretary for the ruling conservative UMP Party. Rama Fad, General Secretary of the Socialists Youth Movement. Thank you for being with us. And to steer us through the pitfalls of campaigning in a digital age, Waddick Doyle, who chairs the Global Communications Department at the American University of Paris. By the way, we've been getting a lot of suggestions from you, the viewers, on what Sarkozy's campaign slogan should be. We'll be looking at those coming from the France 24 Debate Facebook page. You can also weigh in on the conversation on Twitter, where you can find us at FrançoisF24. Now, let's remind everyone of France's latest political news cycle. Last Friday evening, after the close of the markets, France's credit rating gets downgraded. Political reactions go fast and furious through the weekend. When a reporter from the Reuters news agency asks the president about it on a Monday visit to Spain, well, Nicolas Sarkozy dismisses the question.
Do you consider the loss of the AAA rating to be a failure? And do you think that this loss compared to Germany's situation?
You don't have the latest information. If you ask a question about the latest information, I will answer it.
After Standard & Poor's, it's hanging over French politics, France's economic policy.
I do not understand this question, sorry. If someone wants to ask a question I can understand, I will answer.
All right, the French president there, was he rattled, do you think, Charles Ginovich, by the reporter's line of question? He knew that would be the first question. It would be about...
Yeah, maybe, but I think this AAA thing is not a true issue. Yesterday, France just had a loan of 7.9 billion euros. And if you look at the rate was lower than before we have this AAA rating. And I think that you have still two other agencies, which are Moody's and the other one, which is Fitch, and we also have the AAA with all these agencies. So we have to remind that only one agency.
Point taken, but there was a lot of hurt pride, it seems.
Yeah, but you know, it's not an agency which will make our economical policy, and it's not just one letter out of this AAA which will make our economical decisions for the remaining of the mandate.
Do you get the feeling, Amassal, that with that announcement, the campaign is on now at this point?
I think, yes, the campaign is on, and we were working for that a few months ago. But I think that Nicolas Sarkozy said that if he loses the AAA, it will be a disaster. And he loses the AAA. So now what he is doing? What is doing Nicolas Sarkozy? I think that he has to take his responsibilities and go and not be the candidate for the next elections. It's simple. It's what the people are saying. It's not the fact is that it's not just the political economy which is attacked by this downgraded, but it's his policy. It's his policy that Standard & Poor's say that it was not good.
Well, it's just 1 point out of 21, so it's not a huge thing.
All right, and the poll numbers that we showed in the introduction, at this point, Waddick Doyle, do you get the sense that it is a big hole, or is the electorate fickle?
Well, you know, you're in a presidential system. So in the United States, it would be the same, the incumbent's advantage. If this was Britain or Australia, he'd be out. I mean, look what happened to John Major, look what happened to Kevin Rudd, the current crisis. So that when a leader's polls go down, in those very parliamentary systems, it moves very fast.
So close to an election.
But so close to the election. But in this system, the president has to be the candidate. I don't think there's any possibility that he's not going to be the candidate. Yes, it's bad. I think it's in a difficult position, and I think that François Hollande's image in front of him is principally as non-Sarkozy. He's yet to affirm himself as a really powerful image. It's a neutral relationship, but there's a growing antagonism to Sarkozy.
And on that point, by the way, Waddick, the French Constitution is a funny thing. The only two incumbents to win re-election did so with a minority in parliament. You had a right-wing government under socialist François Mitterrand when he won in 1988, and a left-wing government when Jacques Chirac won in 2002. Why is it that the French seem to have this kick-the-bums-out sort of ingrained in the system almost?
That's a complex question. I think that we have in France a system which was designed by General de Gaulle, who produced what some people have called a monarchical republic. So there's often a dissatisfaction with the monarch, in a sense that shows its way, or with power system in general. And secondly, I think the issue is that all of the English-speaking countries have pushed for what they call economic reform, and the French economic political culture has never been able to adjust to that. Now that so-called economic reform is in serious crisis since the financial crisis of 2008, it's more difficult to claim that. But it's difficult for anyone to put up a very clear debate on economic issues in this country. It's not like a debate between a free market versus a government intervention system. Everyone is on the side of a certain level of government intervention. It's a very different debate from
Frederick Winkler, I want you to react to something that Waddick just said. On the one hand, in this country, we chop kings' heads off, and on the other hand, we want a regalian president. Are the French schizophrenic?
We are very schizophrenic, yes. 21st of January, actually, is the anniversary of the 219th anniversary of chopping the king's head off. I mean, what's quite interesting is, we rebuilt an aristocracy, so everybody wants a president. So he's elected, it's not given, it's elected. But so yes, and that was the issue of Sarkozy actually when he started, was that people saw him more as a prime minister. No, he wasn't in the president's suit. And I think that's what he's been trying very hard to do in the last 2 years, is get that stature of a president that someone would trust. And trust is the key for this election, because what you have is you have a country where people are very scared. I think every news that you hear every day, the AAA is not the issue is the symbol. So that symbol gets people scared. People don't understand what's going on. So a lot of the election is going to be judged on trust. Who do I trust? And to trust, you're going to need someone that has stature. And again, that was an issue as well with François Hollande. And I think we saw a lot of the way that he behaved during his getting chosen as the candidate, as being someone who could get things in hand. The way he was acting, the way he was talking, the way he was interrupting other candidates. So you've got two people who are going to want to be very reassuring to a population that's not feeling very well. Which is why, as well, this year we have 4 potential candidates. So people are not sure. 100 days before choosing, it's likely they're going to choose in the last month, probably. People are going to take a lot of time before they make their minds up.
All right, so still all to play for. You mentioned how a regalian attitude, that means delegating power, although this week the president vowed not to be pegged as a lame duck president in the run-up to his re-election bid, instead vowing that he'll keep on being what some have called Speedy Sarko, pushing reforms to curb unemployment and spending. He gathered union leaders and business leaders to the presidential palace on Wednesday. Here's what he had to say.
It makes no difference what's going on the political scene, what's happening with the debt crisis, or how unemployment levels are looking. We cannot sit by and watch our fellow citizens suffer.
All right, Nicolas Sarkozy trying to project the image of the guy who's too busy working to be a candidate. But at what point does he throw his hat in the ring?
Well, I think he has
officially.
He has to stay president. What we hear about analysts or even MPs is that he will run as a president at mid-March. The other point...
Mid-March?
Mid-March, yes. It might be mid-March. So he has to stay president the
so
longest
what,
time.
some 5 weeks before...
it will be 5 weeks for the president. But yet, the campaign has begun for the UMP ruling party today. And we are dealing with this campaign in 3 steps. The first steps today is to tackle François Hollande on what we call this triple I, which is incoherence, inconsistency, and illusion, and dangerous propositions, if you look at the economical proposition of the candidate, which are way over what we want for a regular budget. The second point will be to tackle Marine Le Pen and her nationalist issues, nationalist proposals. The second step now will be to review, promote what we have done during 5 years, what we have done for social policy, what we have done on international issues and international relationships. And the third step of our UMP campaign will be to promote our program for 2012 and for the 5 years if Sarkozy is being elected. And this program will be on 3 pillars, which are Europe, education, and security.
In the United States, you declare yourself a candidate sometimes years before the actual election date. In Britain, the official campaign period is 6 weeks, even though we know the head is, as Waddick Doyle says, it's a parliamentary system over there. What's your reaction when you hear Charles Givaninovic say that the plan, at least for now, is for the president to announce 5 weeks before the first round?
It is not true. You know, in fact, the president is already a candidate. He is a candidate since he talked on the 31st December to say that I'm going to be the one who's going to save the France, who's going to save the Europe. I'm going to organize some summits. He organized those summits. He organized about 16 summits, but nothing's going on. Nothing changed about the people's lives. And what he says, what you say, it's dangerous because in France, the main problem, the main topic we have to talk about is about the employment. It's about the work. It's about what the people are living. They don't have any money. There is a lot of unemployment. And it's a first time in 10 years ago, we don't see that. We have to talk about the people health care because they can't go to the doctors today because they have to pay some bills. And that is the problem. If you say that we're going to talk about security, all right, but you are not doing the presidential election. We are saying, and it is what François Hollande is doing, it is talking to the people. The people who are hurt by Nicolas Sarkozy's politics.
Yes, well, thank you for this exercise. And if you look,
it's right, and you know it.
If you
don't know it, it's because you don't go outdoor and you don't talk to the people.
Yeah, I go
because
every day,
the people suffer today,
and
it's the reason why they are so disappointed about Nicolas Sarkozy's policy.
Just if we want to go a bit higher on the debate,
François
Mitterrand ran for president.
So low to talk about unemployment. Yes. I think that it's a shame.
Thank you.
All right. I just want to get back to the issue of the strategy here for the virtual or real candidate, depending on who you speak to. There was one visit that he made this week, among all those visits that we talked about at the outset, the president, that Waddick Doyle, I'd like you to comment on. 2007, he was a conservative, and he was trying to succeed another conservative. His campaign theme then was La Rupture, which I guess you could translate as the clean break. And he at the time ran a successful campaign, pitting himself as somebody who was different from from his predecessor. This week we saw the potential candidate, whichever, go, for instance, to speak to farmers in the southwest of France. And that was taking a page out of his predecessor's book, The Man Who's Close to Farmers, which in this country is a big deal.
Well, I'm not an expert on the relationship between French presidents and the rural populations, but I think what we've seen in campaigning and what Sarkozy represented is what Pierre Mousseau did a book called Sarko-Berlusconism, which is a type of short-term brand. That is, that it's a brand that's constantly reinvented. If you think of Sarkozy as a brand, he constantly reinvents it. And the problem with that is its perennity. So recently we saw him visiting St. Joan of Arc's sites. We saw him restoring a sort of national myth and trying to appropriate that back, which is a myth that's moved from left to right to extreme right in French history. Or we've seen him going to imitate Chirac's maybe rural touch. The problem is that it's too, for me, in terms purely in branding terms, I'm not talking about beliefs, it's too inconsistent for his public. It's unable to maintain a sense of constancy and clarity. So it works in short-term interventions on public opinion. But now the re-election is coming, we're back to this idea is it enough outside, sort of above the framework? The presidential address, does it really work?
Is he too flaky? Is it too much short attention span theater?
You know, the real issue is you get elected 5 years ago on a program that's, you know, working more to earn more, get things started, get France, you know, onto this younger, more dynamic feel, and then this crisis hits once. And you try to solve it, and he actually, you know, did quite a lot to rally all Europe, put Europe together to make things happen, and then, you know, you get a second wave. It's like shaving, your first and second wave. So it's almost impossible, and it would have been impossible for anyone to maintain a normal straight line unless he was completely blind, because he was just heading for a wall. So you'd had to have someone that's able to move, whoever it would have been, needed to do that.
But does he reinvent himself too much, as Watt Doyle is suggesting?
Well, the real issue is to be able to have something that's consistent, and I think there is something quite consistent in the way that he likes to grab hold of subjects and get things happen. You know, I think that would be, you know, if you look, you know, history will look back at Sarkozy, and I guess this will be the main thing. Then there's the debate of the effect, but with a crisis like we've had, it's quite difficult to actually gauge that. What is very new now is because, again, these four candidates, you've got people who normally you're either right-wing, left-wing, communist, or extreme right. Right now, Marine Le Pen is sinking votes from right, left, and communists. Bayrou is probably, in fact,
He's a centrist. When we come back, we'll pick up on that, on who Sarkozy's rivals are and what his successful strategy should be. Stay with us. This is the France 24 debate.